Hello, Tzoharaim Tovim. I want to share with you the Halakhic question of the week. We started a new program in our community to go on Tiyulim on a monthly basis and visit famous historical sites in Eretz Yisrael. Now, for this coming month, David Fensterheim, our fearless tour guide, has proposed that we go to the city of Ramle and go visit. One of the places that we go visit is the Great Mosque of Ramle. Now, the Great Mosque of Ramle is a fascinating edifice because it was built over 800 years ago, during the times of the Crusaders. It was built as a church, and since then, and it's still intact, it has been transformed into a mosque. Now, putting aside some of the political and security questions, and I recognize that for many of us, we're in a very raw place because of the events of the last few weeks, but let's just look at this from a halachic perspective. Now, this question has a few different layers. Number one, can you enter a church? Number two, can you enter a church that no longer functions as a church? Number three, can you enter a mosque? First, let's start with the church. When it comes to Christianity, there are a range of opinions about what the status of Christianity is from a halachic perspective. The Rambam rules that Christianity is a form of avodah zarah. On the other side, you have the opinion of Harav Menachem Meiri, who does not believe it's avodah zarah. And in the middle, you have the Balei Tosafot, who believe that Christianity may be avodah zarah for for Jews, but not for Christians. In practice, we do not enter Christian churches. We stay out of them, even though there's some amazing artwork to see. That's generally the Psak Halacha across the board. But what about a church that is no longer functioning as a church? I want to share with you a tshuva by Rav Chaim David Halevi in his work Aseh Lecha Rav, in which he quotes Rav Eliezer HaMizrachi, a Sephardi rabbi from the 15th century. And Rav Eliezer Mizrachi points out that if you have a Knessia church that is no longer functioning as a church, then you may not transform this into a Beit Knesset, but you could even daven there. You could have a minyan in there. And all the more so, Rav Chaim David Halevi paskins, you may enter this place. And therefore, a church that is no longer functioning as a church, you could enter that place as a tourist. That's from a Christian perspective. What about the fact that this is a mosque which Muslims daven in on a regular basis? So based on the Rambam, who says very explicitly that Islam is not avodah zarah, Islam is a monotheistic religion, and that they worship the same God that we worship, it would appear that there is no prohibition to enter a mosque. And in fact, Rav Ovadia Yosef, in his Sheilot Teshuvot Yabi Omer paskins, that a Jew may enter a mosque and even daven in a mosque, meaning daven our tefillot in a mosque. A mosque is not a Beit Avodah Zarah. And one proof that Rav Ovadia brings is the fact that Jews, tzaddikim and rabbanim for generations have been going to visit Me'arat HaMachpelah, which is essentially a mosque. The whole compound was built as a mosque. And Jews enter that, even though it is technically an Islamic edifice. Now, Rav Ovadia Yosef is not the only opinion on this matter. Rav Eliezer Waldenberg in his Tzitz Eliezer quotes Rabbeinu Nisim, as well as Rav Avraham Min Hahar. Rabbeinu Nisim argues that Muslims actually worship Muhammad, and that makes them into an idolatrous religion. That's questionable from a historical standpoint. I don't think that's what Muslims would say about their own religion. Rav Avraham Min Hahar says that even if something is not avodah zarah objectively, if something is part of a competing religion, then it's avodah zarah for us. This is also the opinion of Rav Hershel Schachter, posek at Yeshiva University. He quotes the Rambam's interpretation of a pasuk, Al tifnu el ha'elilim, and Velohei Masyecha lo tasu lachem. He interprets this to mean that one may not enter the house of worship of any competing religion, even if that religion is not technically avodah zarah. In terms of this particular issue, we're going to follow the psak of Rav Nachum Rabinovich, my Rosh Yeshiva from Malei Adumim, who believes that entering a mosque is permitted al pi halacha. And I do believe, despite, again, the very, very raw feelings that we have based on the incidents of the last 2 weeks, that we need to try to build bridges. We need to do everything that we can to fight for coexistence. And that takes some work on our side, and certainly a lot of work on their side. But this is one way that a person can learn a little bit more about Arabs and Islam, and I think that can be a productive and enjoyable exercise for those who want to go on this tiyul. So that's the halachic question for the week. Wishing you a great day. Kol tuv.